We are here with Dr. Paradise from the BCA Animal Hospital. I'm going to be asking her some questions about dogs and cats. And first of all, I would like to start by asking you how many times in a month or a year should a dog be taken to the clinic for a medical examination?
So there's kind of two age categories. Dogs that are under 7 are considered adults. And so those are taken once a year once they're through with their puppy vaccines. Puppies need to come more often. And then senior pets, which is 7 plus, should come twice a year, so every 6 months.
Okay. I'm here with Mandy and her dog. How frequently do you take your dog to the vet?
Yearly for shots and a checkup, or if there's something like if he's not feeling good or something like that, then I'll take him.
What are some common symptoms that usually indicate that your dog may need to visit the vet?
Basic things like vomiting and diarrhea, coughing, sneezing, decreased appetite. If they're lethargic or not wanting to play or go for walks, limping, of course any wounds, evidence of an ear infection, scratching their ears, runny eyes. I mean, basically the things that you look for in people, but sometimes you have to be a little bit more observant because they can't tell you their stomach hurts. So that's usually the decreased appetite and things like that.
Has your dog ever suffered an accident in which you had to immediately take it to the veterinary clinic, or didn't know what to do?
Nope.
That's good. How should a person who owns a dog feed its dog? Is it okay to feed them just dog food all the time, or some people even feed them human food all the time? Is that fine?
So we don't recommend any human food. It's not nutritionally complete, so they're going to be getting calories in but not the appropriate nutrition. So definitely you want to stick to dog foods, and it needs to be a food that's appropriate for the life stage. So puppy food for puppies, adult food for adult dogs, senior food for senior dogs. Treats are okay in moderation, just like with people. And of course, a big problem with pets, like with people, is obesity. So you have to watch, calories and how much your dog's eating.
Mandy, what do you usually feed your dog?
I feed him healthy weight food that the vet recommended to me because he's a little overweight. So I feed him the healthy weight food. I give him a cup in the morning, and then I give him a cup around 6 o'clock in the evening.
Okay. And what are the 5 most toxic foods for dogs, or some of the most toxic foods for dogs?
A lot of people know about chocolate. That's toxic. You have to be careful. A lot of the over-the-counter medications, which isn't really food, but people will often give their dogs Tylenol, ibuprofen, and those can be toxic in certain doses. Onions and garlic are toxic, not high toxicity, but over time they can become toxic. A big thing right now is xylitol, which is found in a lot of gum, is very toxic for dogs. It's really bad if they get hold of that. Raisins are toxic. They can cause kidney failure. Most foods, the worst you might see, is vomiting and diarrhea, like the high fatty foods. But you do have to be careful. There are a few that are actually toxic.
And besides just walking a dog for half an hour or an hour every day, which is what people usually do, is that enough exercise for all dogs?
It depends on the dog and the age. Smaller dogs, a little walk is actually quite a big workout. But certainly taking them out and throwing the ball is always good. Some dogs do require more mental stimulation, and so different, the play like fetch, frisbee, or agility is good for them. If you have an overweight dog, obviously you need to do more exercise.
And how do we know, if our dog is actually getting enough exercise?
I don't know that there's a particular parameter, but obviously body condition will let you know if they're, at least eating too much and not spending enough calories. Sometimes bored dogs will have more destructive behavior, and so increasing the amount of time that you're spending with them, whether it's exercise or play, that will reduce, not all, but some of those anxiety-induced behaviors.
And what negative effects can the lack of exercise have on a dog?
Well, weight is the big thing. They don't have heart disease similar to our heart disease. Their heart disease is different, so they don't really get the same heart benefits from exercise. But weight off helps with a lot of things. It helps with arthritis, it helps to protect the kidneys and just extra strain on the heart as far as pumping the blood to such a large body mass. So it's really, the exercise is, it's a bonding experience for the owner. It keeps the dog from being bored, and then the weight issue is a big thing.
How are you exercising?
He usually goes on about 3 walks a day, and probably every Friday I've been trying to take him to the dog park so he can run around.
You usually leave your dog with when you have to travel away from home?
Either with a family member or I take him to a nearby kennel.
And do you think that sleeping with one's dogs or dogs can have a negative effect on a dog's behavior?
No, I mean, that's up to the person. You always have to remember your dog is not going to be as hygienically clean as you are. So, and if they have parasites, sleeping with them is going to make you prone to picking up those parasites. I don't personally have an issue if people want to sleep with their pets.
Let's now talk about cats. Cats are usually not as friendly as dogs. However, they also make a great companion. So how many times in a month or a year should a cat be taken to the clinic for a medical examination?
So it's the same. Under 7, they should be taken once a year. Over 7, twice a year. Cats are actually more commonly owned than dogs. There's far more cats in America than there are dogs. But less people. We only see about 20% of the cat population compared to dogs, I think is the last number. So cats are definitely not brought in because people are afraid of putting them in the carrier. It's a pain. The cat comes here, they're angry, which is not always the case. Plenty of cats are friendly and nice, but they certainly are more difficult to bring into the vet. So we do the twice a year for seniors and once a year for dogs. And cats are better at hiding disease than dogs, so it's really important that they come in for their exams.
Okay. What are some common symptoms that usually indicate also that our cats may need to be the vet?
So it's the same things that you see in dogs as far as decreased appetite, coughing, sneezing, vomiting, diarrhea, wounds, of course, any eye or ear problems. But you also have to really keep an eye out for changes in litter box habits. Are they going to the bathroom outside the box? Is their pee clumps getting larger and larger? Because that can be a sign of a problem. Are they hiding? Cats will often, because they're a prey species, they'll hide when they're sick. So if they're not being as interactive as they used to, or they have changes in behavior.
And about the feeding the cats, should they just feed them cat food?
Yeah, definitely cat food, and definitely geared towards life stage. Right now, nutritionists are really promoting canned food for cats.
Some of the toxic foods for cats?
So same as, somewhat the same as dogs. A lot of medications. One Tylenol will kill a cat, so you have to be careful with that. It's not a food, but lilies cause kidney failure, all lilies. So you be careful with houseplants. Cats are notorious for eating houseplants. There isn't as much, they don't tend to eat as much of our food. They eat milk and things like that, which usually if they have a problem with are lactose intolerance, so they get diarrhea and vomiting. But it's more medications and other household hazards, ribbons, strings, things like that.
And how can we exercise our cats? Because they're usually more difficult.
They are harder. So it doesn't always work. Laser pointers for some cats are really great. Not all, but some cats that they love to play with the laser pointer. Toys where it's like the stick and the string with the feather at the end are good. It's hard. We don't necessarily encourage letting your cat outside because hit by a car and diseases and cat fights and things like that are dangerous for cats. But certainly the cats that go out tend to be more active, but not always, than the indoor kitties. It's harder to get cats to exercise.
Let's now talk more in general.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes down to taking our dogs or cats to the trainer or vet, what should you do if you disagree with the method that the trainer or veterinarian wants to apply on you?
Yeah, if you're not comfortable with what's going on, just like for yourself or for your children or family, you can just say I'm not comfortable and leave. I think that's reasonable, and if someone's offended, then you can express what it is you're uncomfortable with, but if you're not comfortable, you certainly shouldn't go back. There are people that use methods that I wouldn't agree with out there, and if you're not comfortable with something that's being done to your pet, then I think it's appropriate, not to raise a big stink and be obnoxious, but just say, I'm not comfortable with this, we're not going to be coming back. Or just leave and don't come back.
And what if your dog or cat goes missing? What should you do?
Yeah, so when they go missing, you can go online in this area, and a lot of our shelters are hooked up, and you can submit a report that gives you the description, the last known area that you saw the pet, and that will alert multiple people as to what they're looking for. It's great to make posters, post them around the neighborhood. You can send them, most vet clinics and food stores and whatnot will take posters and post them. The best thing is either a collar with a tag or a microchip that will, then if they at least go to a vet clinic or a shelter, they can scan them and get your information from the microchip and get it back to you.
And last but not least, how can we identify animal abuse, and what are some important steps that we can or must take when identifying animal abuse?
So that's a difficult question. Certainly there's cases where you suspect abuse, and it's you have to use tact when you're addressing that. If you really suspect animal abuse, I would say call animal control. You can usually do it anonymously if you don't want to get involved, if you don't want any fingers pointed. And then animal control will deal with that case by case basis. It's hard to prove animal abuse in certain cases, if it's not resulting in the death of the pet or an obvious injury. It can be hard to prove it, and it can be hard to prosecute it. A lot of them are just misdemeanors and they don't really get much of a fine or a criminal sentence associated with it. But I wouldn't go after them yourself. I certainly would just let authorities know, and certainly if it's something you're seeing, not that I would go up in someone's face, but if you have the animal, take pictures or whatnot just to make evidence is not a bad idea. But I certainly wouldn't, videotape somebody, and have them come after you or anything.
Well, thank you
Oh,
for
sure.
the interview.
No problem. Yeah. Hopefully it helps.
And what are some advices that you will give to someone who wants to have a dog but doesn't know how to take care of it?
You have to devote a lot of time to taking care of your dog. You can't just go away for a couple days and then come back, because they need walked daily, they need fed daily, water. You gotta make sure. You just have to have a lot of time to give to your dog.
So it's like another family member, basically.
Yes, yep. Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, tell me why you love your dog.
He, just like you said, he's just a part of the family. He's always there for me. He listens. He's a very good listener. And
Thank you.
here, look.
You gonna take us a treat?
Okay, lay down. Okay, roll over. Yeah! Good job.
Alright, thank you.
No problem.